Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 38 of the Give 'em Heck podcast. I'm Brian. This is your host, Penny. As I said last week, I want to thank everybody who has been watching our TikToks. It's helped us out tremendously. It's nice to see all those views rolling in, the likes coming in. We're glad that we're making an impact on someone's life.
Somebody.
As I said in last week's episode, we do plan on doing a live stream on TikTok at some point. Just lots going on in real life right now. We're sorry for the inconsistency in our uploading schedule. We are moving, not saying where, but we are moving, and we're really looking forward to that. So in the next coming weeks, our upload schedule is going to be inconsistent, but we'll do the best we can to make sure we give you guys content whenever we can. But we're really looking forward to the move. So there's that. And I don't think I have any other announcements to make. I don't think I do. So in that case, let's get this show on the road.
Get it done. So I just want to say, like Brian was saying, thank you to all of our regular viewers and to any new viewers that we have on tonight. Welcome. And we hope that this helps in some capacity. So I'm going to read our disclaimer, as I always do, that we are not doctors, psychologists, or counselors. We are not given any medical or psychological advice. We are just simply here to discuss real-life situations to give hope, encouragement, and instill change.
Yes.
And in our last episode, which was, I don't think it was last week, I think it was the week before, we talked about making your dream. Remember that?
Yep.
That one's not too far away. So, what do you think of, Brian, or do you remember what you said when I asked you, what does making your dream mean to you?
Obviously, I don't think I can remember verbatim, but I said something. I want to think I said something along the lines of, like, starting to put things in motion.
Yes.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
That sounds right.
Like doing the steps that you need to do to make your dream happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something along those lines.
Yeah. So, in that particular episode, we talked about the two things that really stood out to me was two quotes, and we both have experienced these in our life, which I'm sure a lot of our viewers do, that you've experienced these sayings, one being, everything happens for a reason, versus everything happens exactly like it's supposed to. Do you want to expound a little bit, Brian?
Can you guess which one is wrong? Yeah, I can't stand that quote, everything happens for a reason. Well, I could go on a huge rant about that, because I did kind of go on one last week, last episode, but there doesn't have to be a reason for everything. Sometimes life just sucks.
Yep.
And there doesn't have to be a reason for everything that happens. Now, I did have one of my friends tell me, which I guess I could say is a good point, but again, just because context matters in every situation doesn't mean everyone is going to look at it within that lens of context. Some people just have bad things happen to them and they don't like it, right? So he said to me, he's like, well, Brian, yes, everything happens for a reason within context. And I looked at him and I'm like, you're not technically wrong, but you can't sit here and tell me that, like, if I fall off of something and hurt myself, that there was any reason for it.
Right.
I made a mistake.
Right.
Right? And I hurt myself.
It's just life.
That's just life. Yeah. I named off quite a few examples. I went from, like, extreme examples to non-extreme, and we did pick some that we could say, well, maybe there was a reason for that. Okay. And then some of them he was like, I can't think of a reason. Exactly. Like, if anything, we're both right.
Right.
But that's why the second one is the one I like better.
Yes.
Everything happens the way it's supposed to.
Yes.
Because it provides that context in the actual saying, right? Because obviously, when I say everything happens for a reason versus everything happens the way it's supposed to, you can determine which one has a little bit more grounding in common sense.
Right.
Because the other one seems like the first one, everything happens for a reason. It's almost like it's making a stretch. Like it's really trying to convince you that there was a reason for this disaster.
Right.
But with the other one, it almost leaves the decision up to you what that thing was and how you will respond to it.
Right.
That's how I've always seen
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And what we had discussed in that episode with those two sayings was when you live your life from everything happens for a reason, that way of living can be very discouraging. It feels like you are being punished or that you have to do things to prevent bad things from happening. Like, what was the reason for that tragedy?
Yeah.
Versus when you begin to live life from a perspective of everything happens exactly like it's supposed to, it's more doable, more understandable, and more acceptable.
Yeah. It's like somebody asked me, like, because I said that to one of my friends this past week. I was like, something really bad happened to him, and I have a lot of empathy for him because I went through something similar. But I told him, I was like, everything happens the way it's supposed to. And he paused for a minute. And I thought because this was happening over a call, I didn't see him. So when he paused, I was thinking, is he mad? And then he said, that's a good point. And I went, really, why? And he said, because of this thing happening, I reconnected with somebody else.
Right. And it's kind of like what we talked about in our TikTok tonight.
And I
it
know
goes from the why to the what.
Yeah. And I know you could say, well, you can use the everything happens for a reason saying in that context. That's why it's important to know the context is important. But when I said everything happens the way it's supposed to, what happened in his situation because of the bad thing that happened, he was able to get in contact with somebody else who was actually not only able to help him with the situation,
Oh, wow.
but he actually paid for the damages.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Right. And you said the why and the what. And this is what I mean. This kind of went along with our TikTok because when you live from the perspective of everything happens for a reason, then you look at that situation and say, why me?
Yeah. Or you're trying desperately to find the reason, where it's almost like when I say everything happens for a reason, it's tying the reason to the disaster.
Right.
But when I say everything happens the way it's supposed to, it kind of takes the attention off of the disaster and more on you.
Right.
Of like, where do I go from here?
Right. And when you tie in the everything happens like it's supposed to, again, that's the what. Because it allows you to grow. It allows you to move on. Because now, like your friend, what came out of that was him finding help in that situation.
Yeah.
Yes, we talked about that a little bit on our TikTok tonight. If you'd like to go on there and watch that.
I'll be posting a link in the description to our TikTok, by the way.
Yeah. So with that episode, I had read a quote at the end of that episode, and I'm going to read it again. And it's called Taking Charge of Your Life. There comes a moment where the waiting has to stop, waiting for someone to understand you, waiting for life to shift, waiting for something outside of you to finally fix what's been sitting inside all along. That moment is where everything changes because you realize no one is coming. And that's not a bad thing. It's the most freeing truth there is because the same place you've been looking for rescue is the exact place your power has been sitting the entire time. Not in perfection, not in having it all figured out, but in the willingness to face yourself honestly. The shadows, the doubts, the patterns you've outgrown, but still carrying. That's where the real shift begins. Most people don't avoid change because they can't. They avoid it because it means taking full ownership. No more blaming the past. No more pointing at others. No more hiding behind distractions. Just you choosing differently. And that's where everything opens. You don't need to become someone new. You need to stop abandoning who you already are. You need to stand in it fully, even when it's uncomfortable, especially then. Because a version of you that's waiting on the other side of that honesty is the one that doesn't need saving. They lead. Take charge of your life, not from force, but from truth. Not from pressure, but from clarity. Bring every shadow into the light, and watch how quickly it loses its grip. It was never about being rescued. It was always about remembering that you're the one who holds the light.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any more before we go into tonight's episode? Perfect. So tonight's episode, we're going to talk about, and I titled it, Making Miracles. So with that being said, what do you think of, Brian, when I say making miracles?
That's a good one. Making miracles. I would have to say, I don't want to make it seem like I'm the god of my own universe. I guess I would have to say, one of my friends said something like this once. If I cannot expect a miracle, then I'm going to do everything in my own power to make sure that I can find the small ones all around me. And that's kind of the thing that I thought of. Because initially I was thinking, well, making miracles obviously means doing the necessary things to see miracles. And then that's what made me think of my friend's quote. So I gotta say, it's like not necessarily playing God and making your own world what you think it is, but more of like looking at everything around you and seeing the miracles that you already have.
Okay. I'm going to get deeper into that. Because with what you just said, I want to ask questions, but I'm going to go a little further, and then I'm going to ask the questions.
Is this going to turn into another debate night?
So I looked up the definition of miracle, and this is what I found. It's an effect or an extraordinary event in the physical world that surpasses all known human or natural powers and is ascribed to a supernatural cause.
Yeah.
Okay.
The literal definition.
Right. Okay. So we've all been at places in our lives where and when we've needed a miracle. Yeah. So you kind of defined in yourself, Brian, miracles. But I'm going to ask you again so I can kind of reflect off what you said previously. What are miracles?
You want to, like, from the literal interpretation?
Why don't you give me both, what you think the literal is and then what you think it is to you?
Well, from, like, I'm kind of going off of the literal definition, but I'm going to use my own words. Something happening that should not happen. Something that is far beyond outside control of anything physical. Like divine intervention, if you will. Something that shouldn't have been possible.
Okay. Now, you said your friend's quote was, if he can't make the miracle happen, he's going to look for the small ones. So my question to that is, do you think miracles happen all the time?
I think they can. I think they can, and I think they do. I think the life itself is a miracle, you know? Like, that's, to me, life is so precious because of how inconceivable life itself is. Like, you can't, like, you take apart the human anatomy, right? You can't point to it and say, this is where it comes from. Like, what makes us function? What makes life life? You can't create it. You know what I'm saying? You can't replicate it. It's as natural as we are breathing, you know? And I don't think people look at it that way. Like, when people really try to describe what life in and of itself is, I've had this conversation with my friends. Is like, that's why I personally view life as so precious, because there's only one of you. There's only one life of you. You know, human beings are not cookie cutter.
Right.
You know, like, for example, a deer, right? You pick a species of deer, you've seen one, you've seen them all, right? Oh, wow. Or like a particular breed of horse, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you people could sit here and say, oh, well, they all have their own personality. Maybe. I'm not going to sit here and deny that. You know, some can be more excitable than others or what have you. But again, that adds to the diversity of it. That's the beauty of it,
It's true.
is because life is so diverse. But with humans, we're very unique in the animal kingdom, where there's only one of me,
Right.
right? And I know people can really go deep into this, which is why I'm going to try not to. But you point to any particular breed of animal, right? Like, look at crows, for example. You just look at a crow, you don't know if that one's any different than the one you saw yesterday.
That's true. He's got a name tag.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
But you see people,
Right. And they're,
you
Right.
always know that's a different person.
you know who they are.
Yeah, exactly. You know
That's a cool
the
perspective.
uniqueness of that.
Yeah.
So, personality aside, because of how life is so precious and diverse, I would define life itself as a miracle. So yes, in reality, miracles happen every day.
Even in situations, let me explain. So you were talking from a perspective of people, life, that type of thing. Do you believe that miracles in situational things happen every day?
Oh yeah. I have a lot of friends in the medical field who can tell you some pretty crazy things.
Okay.
Yeah. They see things happen all the time that should not be a thing, which is why I think, and this is where I guess my more deep thinking side comes out, but I think that's kind of the reason why a lot of people really don't like to go into detail about really crazy emergency room stuff.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Because they see things that they don't want to talk about.
I know.
Because it makes them
You can't
question
explain
everything.
it.
They can't.
Yeah. When you start questioning stuff, whew,
Yeah,
it
exactly.
gets deep.
So it depends. I guess in no better way to say it. I guess it depends on how deep your head is buried in the sand.
Okay. So with what you've just answered, that you do believe that what miracles are, you've explained that they do happen. So from a situational standpoint, how are miracles determined?
Miracles are determined by the impossible. Like just again, the medical field is a very good example. You hear stories all the time about things that just should not have happened. Like they could not have physically happened, right? And you define a miracle by something that is far beyond outside the realm of any conceivable possibility. It's like, and I can even extend it. I mean, I guess it eventually would lead to the ER, but I watch a lot of videos on like police chases and stuff like that, and I see things like accidents these people get into, and I think to myself, how are you still standing after that? And there's a part of me that kind of defines that as a miracle. Now, whether or not you would want to call it spiritual intervention, I think is completely irrelevant. People have survived things throughout human history that they just should not have been able to survive from, and the impact that they make after that situation happened to them, it's like that wouldn't have happened without that catastrophe, right? And then the miracle that happened after the fact.
Right. We're getting somewhere.
Interesting.
Because I've got my own view, and I don't know. Okay. So why do some miracles happen and others don't? Now, everybody's situation is different. So you could sit here tonight and think of a situation that you're going through in life right now and say, I really need a miracle. Well, why do some miracles happen and others don't? Maybe that miracle will happen to you and your friends going through the same situation. It'll happen for them, but it won't happen for you. So why do some miracles happen and others don't?
Well, if we're going to be getting into that,
Yep.
and again, I'm going to give a disclaimer to the viewers that we're going to extend into some spirituality here. So if this is not your forte, just bear with us. But she's asking, and I will answer, because I think miracles are completely and totally out of our control. Ooh, I just struck something, didn't I?
Okay, I believe that. I don't believe we have any control. So we're taking,
I think miracles can align with, for example, prayer. But if you want me to be completely honest with you, based on the stuff that I've done research on for the past 10 years, I would say that those kind of miracles that coincidentally line up with prayer are literally just coincidence.
I'm glad you said that, because that's how I feel. And again, I'm going somewhere, so hang with me. Go ahead. Nope, go.
I'm wondering if I should hold my thought for
Do you
a
want to
moment.
wait for a minute?
Yeah, I'll
Okay,
wait for a minute.
So when I explained to you, Brian, a few minutes ago about, like, you have a friend, you're both going through the same thing. The miracle happened for him. The miracle didn't happen for you. And you said that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that when it comes to prayer, you feel that it really doesn't have anything to do with that. It's just situational, right?
No, because I think from a spiritual perspective, the miracles that happen or don't happen are in alignment with, again, the saying that we said in last time's episode, everything happens the way it's supposed to.
Is it timing?
Could be timing, could be future circumstance, could be present circumstance. I've seen some people go through terrible things and no miracle appeared to have happened. But then, always at a very opportune moment, something will happen in that person's life because of the situation they went through, and they reached hundreds of people because of it.
Okay, so
And I would define that as the miracle.
okay. Are miracles perspectives?
I think sometimes they can be.
Okay. So my next question,
Perspective of outcome, maybe.
or what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So when is it decided who gets the miracle or who doesn't?
I think you and I both know the answer to that. I don't think anybody can. I think there's only one who can. It's up to us to figure out what the miracle is, not who has the right to say if it's a miracle or not.
Okay. Are miracles based on faith or circumstances? Let me explain. So with Mom, I know I've said this in many podcasts before. People would say, well, she didn't live because you didn't have enough faith. Let me explain something else. I know other people who have been through really bad situations, physical situations, and like deathbed situations, and they got healed. Now, I don't know if it was through prayer. I don't know if it was circumstantial. I don't know if it was luck, whatever, okay? So when people said to me, you didn't have enough faith and Mom passed away, are miracles based on faith or circumstances?
Circumstance. I don't think it has anything to do with faith.
Again, so why do some people get it and some people don't?
Could be a multitude of reasons. Circumstances, situations. I mean, who knows? God's ways aren't our ways. So who are we to decide what the right thing to do is? Maybe it was the right thing that happened. You don't know what would have happened had the outcome been different. But he does.
So what if you're a person that doesn't believe in God?
Well, it's not really a whole lot I can say.
Okay, but you said prayer has nothing to do with it.
No, it doesn't. Because a lot of times people pray for selfish reasons. Instead of praying that the outcome that happens, that God will give you the strength to deal with the problem, or to deal with the struggle rather, and that everything that was decided is the best.
So is this where we talked about in last week's episode that everything happens exactly the way it's supposed to? So basically you ride the ride.
Yeah, what other choice do you have?
You don't.
And I think that line of thinking that I have, not saying I'm right on everything, but my way of thinking takes any blame off of God, takes any blame off of the Creator. Because if I say, God put $1 million into my bank account and it doesn't happen, who am I going to blame?
Well, maybe someday you will get the million, but maybe not right now.
And that's perfectly fine. That's why I wouldn't pray for the million at all. I would pray that whatever happens, that God is in control. And that he would give me the strength to overcome any struggles, trials, or situations that happen.
Okay.
You know? Because again, I'm human. Like you got to think of this logically. We can sit here and think until we're blue in the face that we know what's best. We don't. Just, I'm sorry, we don't. We can't see the future. So leaving that situation in God's hands is the most logical thing to do. And even if that means you just going through the motions of your everyday life and just praying that God gives you the strength to deal with the situations to come. And again, if you don't believe in God, well then have fun, I guess.
I mean, it's up to you to believe what you want to
Like,
believe.
I'm not trying to demean anybody, but I'm serious.
Right.
Like, if
I
you
mean,
don't
it's up to
believe
you.
in God, then
It's up to you.
I don't know what to tell you.
Right, because that's how you go. But it's fine if you don't. I mean,
Yeah.
we're not here to tell anybody what to believe. Believe what you want. How can I ask this question? So let's talk about the $1 million thing, Brian, like you were talking about. So let's say not so much that you prayed for $1 million, okay? Take the prayer out of it. But let's say somewhere in the back of your mind you had wished that you had $1 million, and you don't have it, and then one day it shows up. Is it really a miracle, or is it in timing?
Well, I've had situations like that happen where money was given to me right out of the blue. I never asked for it. I could define that as a miracle to a degree. And some of the people that have given me money, I don't even know who they are. You know, I'll just be on one of my platforms there, and then I look and there's $150 sitting in there from an anonymous user.
So if miracles are just shown up out of circumstance, timing, whatever, how are they really known as miracles? What determines this? So this happened in my life, it was wow, right? And this happened in my life and it was wow. Which one was the miracle and which one was just, that's how life happened? It just turned out that way.
It's a good question. I would say it would probably be defined by like the context of the miracle. Like, for example, let's say I need to go get something done to my car and I don't have the money, and then like 2 days before it happens I get the money for it, you know, just randomly. Like, or I talk to somebody about it and they're like, they don't say anything, but I've had this happen too, where, you know, I'm just explaining away a situation I'm going through and how I'm going to have to spend X amount of money to get it fixed. And towards the end of the conversation, he's like, I want you to look at your PayPal.
Oh, wow.
Then I open it up and I'm like, you didn't have to do that. And he's like, I just felt like I had to. I could define that as a miracle of sorts.
So are miracles defined as just circumstantial, timing things that happen that wow you? And if that's so, then I'll ask you the question again. Do miracles happen? Do miracles exist?
I think it depends on the extent. Obviously, money, somebody giving you money, whether it's anonymous or not, is obviously very situational, right? You could have just talked to somebody and they could have felt compelled. But obviously, if I go into some insane descriptions of miracles, like
Health?
yeah, health situation or survival situation, you know, I could define those as miracles because logically they shouldn't have happened. I can sit here and say logically, if I talk to somebody and he just happens to feel compelled to give me the money to help fix the situation, could I define that as a miracle? Probably, but I really can't because it's money. It's something physical, tangible. You know, people do it all the time.
Right.
But when it comes to health things that should not be humanly possible, I could say, yeah, that would be probably defined as a miracle.
So when things don't happen the way you thought they should have, can that still be the miracle?
Say that one more time.
When things don't happen the way you thought they should have, or you wished they would have, is that still the miracle? Do you want me to explain that a little bit more?
No, I'm just trying to think of how to answer that. Because I guess it would depend on the outcome. Like, was the situation worse than, or was the outcome worse than the situation? Because I wouldn't define that as a miracle, but I could define the impact that you can make after that.
Okay. So
You know, maybe.
I'll use Nana's situation. I wanted her to be healed. I wanted her to get better, and she didn't, and she passed. Now, let's assume she would have gotten healed and she'd have lived. I could have looked at that and said, wow, that's a miracle, because really physically, with everything that was wrong, she should have never lived, right? From the perspective of a human life here, right, with what was wrong. So if she would have been healed and better and lived, I'm sure everyone would have looked at that and said, wow, that is a miracle.
Right.
But she didn't. Is it still a miracle? What is it now? Because
I wouldn't
she
define.
didn't live.
I would just define that as life.
So who determines the miracle? You see where
Again,
I'm,
it depends
where
on
I'm
the-
coming back around?
Well, it depends on the outcome.
I
Like
know
you
the
said,
outcome.
miracles happen to some people, and some people they don't. That's just life.
Okay, it doesn't sit well with me. I'm working through it. I'll be honest with you.
Well, and here's the thing. I'm gonna be like, this is me being just brutally honest. I don't know how you can, how it cannot sit well, which is understandable. I just don't know what it not sitting well with you, how it changes what it is.
Oh, it's not going to change what it is.
Like, you can go outside and say, I don't like this massive boulder in my yard, and it doesn't sit right with me. It doesn't change the fact that it's still there.
Right.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
But
And who's to say that her surviving, right, through your miracle, how do you know that wouldn't have led to worse things at the end? Because that does happen a lot in the medical field.
And
Relapses can sometimes be a lot worse.
I know. And this is why I'm trying to ask you these questions, because I want to know your perspective. Now, let's assume, oh, well, not assume, because she did pass away. Was that the miracle? Was the miracle not that she was
No, I wouldn't call that a miracle at all. I would just call that life. Like, are you saying the fact that she passed away and didn't have to deal with anything worse is a miracle? Because no, that's not how it works.
Okay.
Like, I just
No, I'm not upset with you. I'm just trying to wrap all this around my head.
mm-hmm.
You know, we talk about how things happen the way they're supposed to, and you sit here with that and you wonder, so do
Well, what do you do with it? That's the whole thing, is like,
Exactly.
you can use what you went through as a way to reach out to others who have gone through something similar.
That's all you got.
That could be the miracle right there.
There's
And the things that come from it.
Okay.
It's not the situation. That's why when I said earlier that when you say everything happens the way it's supposed to, it takes the situation out of the equation, because I said everything happens the way it's supposed to. Not everything happens for a reason. Because then you can look at that situation and say, what's the reason? That's where your outcome, or that's how your outlook is right now. When you say that, you're looking at it from the perspective of everything happens for a reason. Again, not everything in life has to have a reason. There is no miracle under every rock. It's what you do after. Quote is, everything happens the way it's supposed to.
So it's what you do from here. That's the miracle?
It can lead to a miracle. It's not the miracle itself. Again, there's not a miracle under every rock. You know, me avoiding tripping down a hill in and of itself is not a miracle. It's how I was able to avoid tripping over that rock.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah, I get it. So it's where I go from here. Mom's passed away. You learn from it.
You reach out.
You move on.
No, you don't necessarily move on. You reach out to others who have gone through similar situations. Essentially, in a way, you can become the miracle in somebody else's life.
Purpose.
Yeah, you see, yeah, she's catching on.
So are miracles more common than we think?
Yes and no. I would say they're probably more common than we think, but I don't think they're as common as we'd probably want them to be.
So when you don't get your way over something that you're thinking of that you would like or want to happen in your life and it doesn't go that way, is that still the miracle?
Again, when I hear you explain it like that, I
Maybe
replace the word miracle with reason.
Okay.
There doesn't have to be a reason, aka a miracle, for everything.
So miracles aren't more common than we think.
I think they're more common than we think, but not as common as we'd want them to be. Because again, nobody promised you that life would be easy or that you'd get what you want. Nobody said that. I've said that countless times on this podcast.
So maybe somewhere along the way, the miracle will happen.
Throughout every person's life, they will encounter a miracle at least once.
Well, that's comforting.
I said at least once. They can have up to multiple.
Thank you. I'll take them. So, where do miracles happen, Brian?
Where you least expect them.
Why does it have to be that way?
Because if they happen where we expect them, we'd want them all the time.
Is that a bad thing?
Yeah,
Why?
because it removes the realism from life. You know, there was a guy who did an experiment, I believe it was with rats, or mice, one of them, where he put them in a perfect society. He gave them everything they wanted.
Really?
Yep.
Okay, this is going to be good.
They got everything they ever wanted. And you could say that mouse was living a miracle. Now, of course, mice aren't self-aware, so it probably wasn't like, wow, I'm living a lot better than the rats outside. But, you know, all of these mice were living in a perfect system. They had fresh beds, food and water every day. You know, they had partners. Everything was perfect for these mice. Within a very short period of time, their group did not survive. It completely fell apart.
What?
It's almost like society at large craves chaos to function. We crave the unpredictable nature of life, where if society were to be perfect, in this current state of being, we could not handle it.
Why can't life just be comfortable all the time?
Define comfortable.
I don't
Comfortable
know.
for you is might not be comfortable for me.
So why does there have to be constant chaos?
Not constant, but you know, the thrill of life. To realize that there's more to it than just sitting around all day in a comfortable bed, even though that sounds great, but you and I both know that long term it's not sustainable. We can't live without life giving its unpredictable nature. No matter how much you'd want it to be that way, but it just doesn't work that way.
So miracles
People
aren't...
who oftentimes have everything they could ever want and ever need are sometimes the most miserable people you'll ever meet.
So it's not the miracle of always getting what you want or having things your way.
Yeah.
And that's not...
I think that's actually worse for somebody. Because again, it does not obviously everybody, but there are a lot of people that I personally know who have really good lives. I can think of one right off the top of my head. He is filthy stinking rich, and he is one of the most depressed and miserable individuals I have ever met.
Wow.
And I'm not even joking. Like, I'm obviously not going to dox him or anything, but I'll put it into perspective for you. This guy has so much money, there is nothing stopping him from going to the store or to the dealership and buying a brand new Lamborghini if he wanted to. There is nothing. In fact, he could probably drive off the lot with at least 4 of them. But he is sad, depressed, anxious. Basically, every negative emotion you could think of, he is. And I don't know if I said he was a friend. He's not a friend. He's not even really an acquaintance. I don't talk to him. I just know of him through somebody else. But I see that happen a lot. Like, he's probably the most extreme example, but I can think of at least 3 other people that I know that are very well off financially in life. They are miserable. But yet, I have one friend who lives in a 1-bedroom, 1-bath trailer, and she is as happy as a sunflower. So why? Why is it that people who experience more of the stress of life are oftentimes, not all, but sometimes some of the most optimistic?
Because you have to have hope.
Thank you. When you have everything and you have nothing to worry about, what's to hope for? What's the point? If I could so much as snap my fingers and get anything I want, what's the point? Where's the excitement in that?
Are struggles healthy?
I personally think they are, yes.
So what doesn't kill you make you stronger? Is that the
There's
key?
a reason that quote is said quite a bit.
Okay, so you're talking about financial. Let's talk about health-wise.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people out there that are not well. What happens if they never get their miracle of healing? We'll call it that.
I'll use the same example. I have a couple of friends who have, I want to say, terminal conditions. And again, I want to make it clear to the viewers, I'm not saying this is every single one, okay? I know there's exceptions to the rule, and exceptions do not make the rule. I'm just saying
Good quote.
that the people that I know that have really bad medical conditions are, again, oftentimes some of them, I wouldn't even say the happiest, because obviously they're not happy with their situations, but again, the most optimistic. It's almost like they learn to value the importance of life and be thankful for what they got.
So is the miracle in the hope?
I could consider hope a miracle in some capacity.
And if things at the end of the day don't work out quite the way you wanted them to, is it still the miracle?
I think it's still okay.
Okay. Why do you say that?
Well, because again, what do you have other than that? Because at that point, you're just grasping at straws. It's almost like you're trying to find either something to blame or something to hope for. So in reality, a person who looks at a particular situation can find, maybe to some degree, find a miracle in it, but I don't define miracles that way, because I don't look at situations as an excuse to find a miracle, because it's not about me. It's about what I can do with the situation, where I go from there. Because again, it's not about me. Because that's the why me mentality, or the what's the reason mentality. There is none, and it's not about me.
So maybe when I asked you what are miracles, Brian, maybe the correct answer in that is that everything happens exactly the way it's supposed to, and that's the miracle.
Life in and of itself. That's why I started this. You see how I went full circle? You tried to get me with it, now I'm going to get you with it. Everything comes back to life as the miracle.
Even when that life's no longer here.
Yep. Because didn't we have an episode that said living and building a legacy?
Yeah. Yep.
There you go.
It does take the blame off it, though, when you think about, and I said that in last week's podcast, that when you say everything happens the way it's supposed to, it does take the blame off yourself, because now you look at that situation. And I'm speaking for myself. I can look at that situation and say, that's how it happened. There was nothing I could do.
Mm-hmm. And how do you know that this situation that you would have called for, or something you said, this, I know what I'm thinking right now, and if this were to happen, it would make it better. How do you know that? Oh, so now you're in charge. So now it's about you. You see how when you start digging into the concept of I know what's best, how that all of a sudden makes it about you?
Maybe it was just timing.
Could have been.
Maybe that's just how it.
Yeah, and that's why I will die on the hill of humility. Because the moment that I start thinking of ways that it could have been better according to my will, well, congratulations. I have officially made it about me, and it is about nobody else. And you can sit here and say, well, yeah, but if I got the thing that I'm thinking about, it would make things better for the other person. How do you know that? Like, genuinely, how do you know that?
Well, you don't.
Exactly. And if there's anybody out there that actually does think that their situation would have been better, please send me whoever you use to help you see the future, because I'd like to know.
Well,
because in reality, we don't.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Maybe the thing that happened was the miracle, because that's what was supposed to have happened. Is the miracle based on timing? Because like you and I both said, it's got nothing to do with prayer or faith. So if that's the case, maybe it's just...
Again, I don't define... I'm going to make it clear again. I don't see everything that happens as a miracle. Not everything in life has to be a miracle, regardless of whether the outcome is good, bad, sad, or angry. It's what I do with it that can lead to a miracle for someone, because that's how I've done it. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to people who have gone through situations similar to me, and they'll tell me, you were an answer to prayer, or you were a miracle that showed up at the right time. Who am I to tell them they're wrong?
Oh, no. Never tell anybody, how or what they should think. That's not what
we do. Well, no, I don't. I'm just saying, from that perspective, how can I tell them that what they experienced was not a miracle?
That's why I'm saying.
And I can sit here and say that, I don't mean to cut you off, but
you're fine.
I can sit here and say that through my experience of getting to that point of meeting them, I did not experience a miracle.
And that's what I'm saying. Maybe the miracle is just, miracles are based off of perspective.
They can be. Again, it depends on how deep into it you want to get. If you want to really talk about miracles like we would consider like spiritual miracles, things that just should not have been able to happen, like again, a tragic accident where somebody's able to walk out of it, I would consider that a miracle. But if I was to say that this person who met me and experienced the same things I did, and I was able to help them through something, they can say, oh, you're a miracle. Okay. I'm not going to tell them, say it like that, but who am I to tell them they're wrong?
Right.
Because they could have met anybody.
True.
But instead, somehow they were led to me.
So again, this kind of wraps around to the TikTok that we did earlier. It's not about the why, it's the what.
Mm-hmm.
Because if everything happens exactly the way it's supposed to, well, it happened. If you have to accept that, not in a bad way, you accept it, right? Now you go forward with it.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of saying why, you say what now. Maybe that's the miracle.
Maybe.
Okay, anything else before I read our quote?
Nope.
Okay. I'm trying to hold myself together. Okay, the name of tonight's quote that I found was called Relying on Miracles. Okay, now listen closely, because you might have opinions on this. Some of this I was like, I'm kind of questioning, and then there's others I was like, yes, you're spot on. So there comes a point on this path where miracles stop being something we hope for and start becoming something we live from. Most people think miracles are rare. They think you need to be special or chosen or worthy for the Creator to move in your life. But the truth is much simpler. Miracles are the natural outcome of alignment. They are what happens when we finally stop trying to force life to obey our fear and instead allow life to unfold through our presence. I learned a long time ago that relying on miracles is not blind faith. It is remembering who we are. It is remembering that when we step into the world with an open heart, clean intention, and clear energy, the path does not just appear beneath our feet. It responds to us. It shifts for us. It guides us. Life is always communicating. The field is always shaping itself around our state of being. When I look back over my life, the biggest turning points were not moments I planned or controlled. They were moments I let go. They were moments I allowed the collapse of what was not meant for me so that something new could rise. That is the quiet truth most people miss. We do not believe in miracles. We rely on them because this journey requires them. Every time I have surrendered something heavy, every time I have walked away from chaos, every time I have chosen love over fear, a miracle followed. Sometimes instantly, sometimes after a long stretch of silence, but it always came. The miracle isn't the event. The miracle is who you become in the process. If you want miracles to show up in your life, start living in a way that welcomes them. Start clearing the things that block them. Start trusting your intuition even when it makes no sense. Start honoring your truth even when it costs you something. That is when the field rearranges itself. That is when the unexpected breakthrough happens. That is when you realize that miracles were never rare. We are just too busy surviving to notice them. Open your heart, align your life. Miracles will meet you there.
There was a lot of things in there that I had said.
Did you agree with most of it?
Yeah, I'd say there's really not a whole lot I have to argue about.
Okay. All right. We won't go further with it. There were some things I kind of wanted to question, but we won't get into that tonight. Maybe we'll put that on the next podcast. But yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And if you're good, I'm going to read our quote and move on. All right. So our quote that we normally, or not normally, always read at the end of our podcast is, believe in yourself, be patient with yourself, and know your best is always good enough. Remember, we can be found on many different platforms like YouTube, Spotify, X, and Apple. Please like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any episodes. We have an email at giveemheck@gmail.com. Also, join our Facebook at Give 'em Heck Podcast and our TikTok at Give 'em Heck Official. These platforms, if you'd like to join them, we, like Brian said earlier, this is where we put any announcements or things that are happening, just to keep yourself up to date.
Yeah. And I do want to say that if anybody has noticed that our last couple of uploads would always come into, or they'd always be uploaded either at the end of Sunday or into Monday, that is because doing everything, because we usually start recording in the evening on Saturday.
Right.
It makes it easier to upload or get them started on Sunday, and then they'll be up by that evening or Monday morning. So definitely be on the lookout for that in the future. So if you don't see them Saturday night as much anymore, that's intentional. So I just don't want you to think we're just not doing it that way anymore. It just makes it a lot easier because of all the stuff it takes to upload them, especially with the upload times.
Yep.
But definitely keep that in mind. And I think that's it.
That's it. Tonight.
All right. Well, we'll see you on the next episode, everyone. Have a good night.
Good night.